Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Moonbuilders Workshop series. Today, we're very lucky to be joined by Sean Watase from Thirdweb. And Thirdweb, you've probably heard of. They are all over the place, and they're doing a million different things to help Web3 developers. And today, of course, we're going to talk a little bit about that. So Thirdweb is a full-stack, end-to-end development platform for Web3. They have a huge suite of tools to aid you in your work as a Web3 developer, doing everything from front-end development, smart contracts, to managing and interacting with smart contracts. And they've got a huge audited library of contracts for you to use, tons of tools, CLI tools, and more. So obviously, Thirdweb is a tremendously powerful tool. And we want to help you, learn more about it and use it to build with Moonbeam. So Sean Watase is a developer relations engineer at Thirdweb. You've probably seen his face on YouTube. He's all over. Just about anything you can imagine in Web3, you name it, he's built it, and he's done a tutorial on it on YouTube. So Sean, thank you so much for joining us here today. I feel very lucky to have you here.
No, thank you, Kevin. Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to kind of, share a little bit more about what Thirdweb is and all the tools and everything we have to offer. And yeah, no, thank you again for having me. All right. How's that look? Can you see it, Kevin?
Oh, it looks great. That branding's
Cool.
very cool.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'll kind of give a rundown of what I had laid out for this. And first, going to start off, kind of give an introduction to what Thirdweb is. Kevin, you kind of laid out our nice one-liner of being a full stack development platform. And what I wanted to do is kind of break down the different tools and features that we have to offer. At Thirdweb, we have a bunch of different things from, like you mentioned, contracts to SDKs to CLI tools to all these different things. And we're constantly adding more to, again, help benefit developers here in the space to quickly and easily build Web3 applications. So, our product mission here is to make the internet more open and valuable for builders and users. If you're someone who has been in the blockchain space for a while, or maybe you're someone who's, fairly new to it, looking to kind of maybe dip your toes into it and get a feel of what it's like, it can be a lot of overwhelming information. And what we want to do was build a tool and a platform where people could easily get into the space. And not only that, if you're someone who's maybe a seasoned developer in the space, also have the tools and everything to do what you need to do as quickly as possible. The space moves so quickly that we know the ability to be able to ideate, build, and then put your stuff out there is tremendously important because, the quicker that you can put products out and present it to users, the quicker you can get feedback and the quicker you can iterate and improve the product in time. So a little bit about Thirdweb, we've had millions and hundreds of thousands of users. So, we have over 70,000 monthly active developers using Thirdweb. We've had, over 1 million contracts deployed and, over 1.7 million wallets that have actually interacted with those contracts. We worked with many brands and everything out there. And you can see here that there's just a few laid out down at the bottom. But yeah, we're a tool that many people are using and many more people are using, every single day because, again, of that ease of use that we have to offer when it comes to Web3 development. And a quick overview, like Kevin mentioned before, we are a full stack Web3 developer platform, and we have a bunch of different tools. And the way we like to categorize them is into 3 groupings right now. So we have our front end, which is going to be like your SDKs, the ability to connect users to your application with their wallets, other wallet solutions like in-app wallets. I'll go into more detail on all those in a bit. We have the backend section. This is a tool called Engine. You can think of it as like a on-chain API where you can kind of interact with the blockchain by just making API calls. And then we have the on-chain section, which is our contract. So again, we have a library of audited pre-built contracts, things like ERC20 tokens to ERC721 NFTs, marketplaces, staking contracts. So you name it, we have a form of a pre-built contract that you can deploy to any EVM compatible blockchain within, just a few simple clicks. And we'll go through kind of a demo on how you can start deploying those as well. So kind of breaking it down a little bit more. Again, we have the front end section. This is going to be what we call Connect, and this is our Connect SDK. It works with multiple frameworks out there. So we support things like React, React Native. We have a Unity SDK, a .NET SDK. Let me see, what else do we have? Yeah, so we have multiple SDKs for different types of frameworks. So no matter where you're building your Web3 application, we have a SDK that you can use to easily, build those things out. We have a bunch of wallet connection solutions as well. So like I mentioned before, this is from being able to connect a Web3 wallet, like you see on the left image here. So if someone has a MetaMask, Coinbase, or a Rainbow wallet or something, we have pre-built components that you can easily just plug and play. And I have a demo that I'll show later on that will demonstrate how easy it is to implement into your applications. We offer things like in-app wallets. So these are going to support things like social logins, email, phone number, passkeys as well. And essentially this will generate a wallet for your user. That way they don't need to go through the hassle and the roadblockers of, going out, finding a wallet, learning about wallets. We can generate them all within the app for the user. And then we also have something called Pay, which is a on-ramp and swapping of cryptocurrencies. So you can purchase, our list of supported currencies with a credit card. This is via Stripe or Codal, depending on where you are in the world. You can also purchase other currencies with other cryptos. So in a way, you're swapping and bridging over the currencies. So if I have mainnet ETH and I needed, a currency on a different chain, I can use my mainnet ETH to essentially buy or swap it to the chain that I'm needing the currency on or the token on. And this is a wonderful tool that we've just introduced, and it's really helping a lot, especially with the user experience, because no longer does your user need to go out of your app, go find a bridge, or go find, go to a centralized exchange to maybe on-ramp some funds, transfer it to their wallet. If you've been in the space, you know how much of a hassle that process can be. So being able to have it built into a component or built in directly into your application and giving you the tools to build that within your app is what Pay is. So again, there's a lot, but that's kind of the front end section of what Thirdweb has to offer.
And Sean, just a quick question for the Pay portion. Do you use like a provider for that, or is that something that Thirdweb? How does that work? Is there like an exchange partner or something?
Yeah. So for the fiat on ramp, it's going to be Stripe or Codal. And then for the crypto swapping, depending on where and what is being swapped, we have providers for that as well. So the credit card fiat on ramp, depending where you are in the world, it'll just toggle you to provide you with the best option and the options that are supported for your current location.
Very cool.
Yeah, and then that will bring us to the backend portion. And this is a tool that we have that's called Engine. And you can see here, this is dedicated APIs for your Web3 apps or games. And essentially what Engine allows us to do is a few things. One, it allows us to scale Web3 applications. Essentially, we can have Engine as, think of it as a backend wallet that we can send transaction details to. We can make API calls to this wallet and say, hey, execute these transactions here for our users. It manages everything from like nonce management to transaction retries. So none of that hassle of making sure a transaction goes through or having to wait for a transaction to go through is put or burdened onto your user. Engine is kind of a backend that we've built to handle all of that. So especially if you have an application that maybe has thousands of users putting transactions through every second, you can again provide that beautiful user experience to your users while just making API calls to Engine to handle all of the on-chain aspects. So that's one end, and then the second end is because you're just making API calls to Engine, it's also the way of simplifying the developer experience. If you're someone maybe transferring from like Web 2 development to Web 3, you don't have to like fully grasp everything that you need to know in Web 3. You can kind of, as long as you have like a basic understanding of how the blockchain works, how to send transactions or what it is, or how to read data from the blockchain, you can essentially build a Web3 application by just using API calls to Engine. So it's also a nice little bridge for someone who is maybe looking to transfer from like Web 2 to Web 3 as well. And we'll go through a demo of Engine and everything a little bit later on as well. And then finally, just to put it out there again, we have the on-chain portion of our 3 different categories, and this is the contract section. And the contracts, again, we have pre-built contracts from, if you're looking to deploy an NFT collection, we have contracts for that, ERC 721s and 1155s. If you're looking to launch a token, we have ERC 20 contracts as well. If you want to launch a marketplace and build a marketplace, we have contracts for that allow you to take care of purchasing and listing NFTs, to making auctions. And we also have things like staking contracts as well. So if you're looking to build in, staking functionality to your application, we have contracts that can help facilitate all of that. And again, I'll go through quick demos and demonstrations on how you can find it, and then how you can also deploy those contracts as well. Yeah, so that's kind of the breakdown of Thirdweb in a whole, the large umbrella. Without going super deep into everything, we'll take a little dive into it, and I'll show some demonstrations and everything. But yeah, I don't know if Kevin, you had any other questions or anything, or if not, I'll continue on.
Oh, I was excited to hear about Engine, and I had already played around with contracts, and I think the only part that I haven't touched yet is Engine.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll definitely let's jump into that. Or actually, before we do, I just like to put this out here. So if you're getting started with Thirdweb, or maybe you haven't really played around with our tools, or seen applications or anything built with Thirdweb, these are some great getting started. So we have a site which is thirdweb.com/templates, right over here. Just zoom in. So thirdweb.com/templates. We have a bunch of templates of games, of applications, of different tools that are built using our tools. So if you want to check them out, check out a demo of them. If you want to see the repo or clone it for yourself, you can come over here. There's a bunch of different ones here. And then as well as our starter kit down at the bottom. So we have, if you're looking to build a project with Next, you can just come over here. You can clone this repo, and you can just actually use that command there, clone it, and then you can get started and build out your own application. We have everything kind of set up and configured for you already. All you need to do is just add in your Thirdweb API key, and then you'll be off to starting to build your own Web3 application. So definitely, yeah, check out the thirdweb.com/templates page. You can also try out some of the games and applications. They all have demo links as well.
And it's free to get an API key to start with, right? Like there's no people don't need to put in a credit card or anything like that to get started, right?
Correct. The API keys are free to get started with. They are, of course, used for later on if you are using certain features and functionalities. And then we, of course, have a free tier of all our tools are free to a certain point. But if you need to, scale up and everything, we have plans and everything that you can sign up for. And then on that as well, the GitHub repo, they're all linked within the template page, but check out the repo as well. There's a bunch of examples of things that, people are building, demos, and, things that you can test out and try if you're trying to get a little bit of, a better idea of maybe some ideas or things that you want to get started with. And then, of course, MPX Thirdweb Create App, or Thirdweb Create App will, bring you to our starter template in our CLI, so you can select what framework and everything you want to use, and then you can get started that way if you don't want to go from the template page here. But yeah, love to share that because it's a great place to get started, especially when you look at Thirdweb's tools and everything. It's a lot, so I would say start with something simple, check out a demo or something, play around with it, and that way you can get a little bit more comfortable before jumping into maybe building something of yourself. Cool. So yeah, next, we'll kind of go through demonstrations of, everything that we mentioned earlier. I'm going to kind of go in a different order here. This is kind of, I guess, the order in which you would go if you're building a Web3 application. So the first part being, deploying your smart contracts, deploying your NFT contract if you're looking to, build a NFT drop collection or a marketplace contract or things like that. So at Thirdweb, I'm gonna come here. No, wrong tab. And I'm gonna sign out here. So yeah, when you come to Thirdweb, you'll be asked to sign in. You'll connect your wallet. You can connect via a in-app wallet, so these login types here, or if you have a wallet already, you can just connect your wallet. So I'm just going to sign in with my MetaMask here. Cool. And then in here, you can come over in the tab section up here to contracts. And in here, you can hit this blue button here to deploy a contract. And this will bring you to our contract explore page. And again, this is where all the pre-built contracts that we have are going to exist. So you can check out some popular ones here. These are ones that people, deploy often. And then we have them categorized in things like NFTs, marketplaces, drops. These are what we consider claimable. So you can, set a certain price or add allow list functionalities to your contracts within these. We have account abstraction for, account factory contracts for things like ERC 4337, airdrop. So yeah, a whole bunch of different ones. But if you want to deploy a contract, we'll just select like a simple ERC contract here. And you can read all about it. You can check out things like the contract functions, the events. We even have code snippets here. So this is code snippets where if you're building with the Thirdweb SDK, you can go through the, whatever you're using, and it will have code snippets here on how to get started using the contract here, as well as how do we interact with all the functions or read data from the contract. We have all the snippets here available for you. So it's a really great place, especially if you're starting off. You can kind of go back and forth and see, hey, I want to approve a user on this contract here, and then you have all the functions on how to prepare the contract call, what you need to pass, the parameters, and all of that to make sure that it works. So a great place and reference if you need to, you're starting to build out an application with the Thirdweb Connect SDK. But back to deploying here, you'll simply just come to deploy now. You'll put in your name, so I'll say token. Down here, you can actually search any EVM compatible blockchain, or put in the chain ID as well. So I think Moonbase Alpha. I think I got some testnet funds. I tried to get some testnet funds the other day, and I think I did.
If you need some more, I can totally. Oh yeah, that should be fine.
No, yeah, cool. Yeah. Awesome. So I do have some funds here. So again, you can just come in here, search the chain, or you can put in the chain ID as well, and then just select your chain here. So we'll deploy that. Let me just fill this out again. And of course, you can fill out all of this to your liking, add an image, a description, and everything to your contract. Select the network that you want to deploy to, and then simply deploy now. And what this will do is it'll pop up the transaction and everything to deploy in your wallet. You pay the gas and everything here. Here. Oh, actually, I'll confirm that in my wallet. And then you'll also get a second transaction that pops up. This is a signature request. And essentially what it does is it imports the contract into our Thirdweb dashboard. And the Thirdweb dashboard is kind of like, you can think of it like a Etherscan or, a Chain Explorer, where you get to view some of the details of your contract and everything. But it shows a little bit more like the contract analytics that we provide you, so you can see what's happening on the contract and a bunch of other features and stuff. So once this gets added to the dashboard, it'll direct you there. So you can see here, we just deployed an ERC20 smart contract. We have the contract address here. It's deployed on the Moonbase Alpha. This is the name of our token here. And yeah, again, this is kind of your dashboard. So once you deploy a contract, this is where you can kind of branch off and start doing whatever you need to do with it. So again, we have a code snippets tab here. just like the code snippets tab we saw in the contract. So you can come back, reference all of these here. We have the Explorer here. So if you're familiar with like Chain Explorer, you can execute, read data from your smart contracts all directly in here. So if we just need to execute the approve function, we can put in, who we're approving, the value we're approving for, and we can execute it directly from here. And then you have a bunch of other things like chain. You can see the contract analytics. So different wallets that have been interacting with your contract, total transaction, total events. Nothing showing up right now because it's a new contract. And then here in tokens, depending on the contract that you deploy, in our case, we did a ERC20 contract. So we can mint, we can transfer, airdrop, burn tokens. We can also set permissions and everything on what wallet addresses are allowed to do these, set permissions and kind of, configure our contract to how we want it to. So again, contracts, super easy to deploy using Thirdweb. Just get some testnet funds where you need them on your chain. Make sure you select the right chain, and then you just again fill out the parameters of the contract and then hit deploy, and it's as easy as that.
And does Thirdweb verify these contracts automatically?
Yes. So these contracts will be verified as well. So once you deploy, that whole deployment process is deploying the contract and verifying it on the chain too. So you'll have a verified contract and everything that you're ready to use once it's deployed. So once you get to this dashboard page here, it's good to go, and then you can start plugging it into your application. Cool. So yeah, that's contracts. The next thing I'll go over is the front end portion, which is our Connect SDK. And the one thing I like to first, introduce people to when it comes to the Connect SDK is our Connect button components, as well as our transaction button components. So these are two components that I think if you're just looking to get started and build a simple Web3 application, these two components are, one, going to allow you to connect a user to your application, so onboard them to your app. And then the transaction button will allow you to basically execute and interact with those smart contracts that you deployed. So the cool thing with the Thirdweb Connect SDK is we provide the tools and everything for you to onboard your users, no matter who they are. So whether they're, they've been in the space for a long time, they have wallets, they know how they work, they know how to connect them to applications, all those things, to someone who's maybe completely brand new, doesn't know how to do any of these things. We cover the full spectrum. And when it comes to onboarding, users to your application, I kind of think of, for me, like two different pain points. One is the wallet creation. So a user has to either have a wallet or needs to go out and create a wallet. And then the second portion is the funding of the wallet. So this portion is, in order to interact with a smart contract or interact with anything on chain, if we need to, manipulate data or add data, we have to pay gas to execute those transactions. And a lot of times, that comes with someone having to fund their wallet in order to do that. So we kind of, when it comes to tackling those two pain points, there's a bunch of different options that you can use to onboard users and connect them to your app. And you can do this all with our Connect button component. So if you're building out, Web3 application in React, we have a component here that's called the Connect button. So this login flow, I'll go through a few of them, but the traditional, this is like someone who has a wallet already, knows how to connect it. This Connect button component is just gonna give you this Connect wallet button here. And this is out of the box. So you get all of this. This is what it looks like. This is the default component here. A user can sign in with their social logins. They can sign in with, a wallet here. We support basically not every wallet, but we support up to over 350 wallets. So you can come in here, search your wallet, search it by name, whatever wallet the user has, they can connect with, as well as we give the customization to, if you want to customize the wallets here on the left with any of these wallets, you have the ability to do that as well. So, a user connects with something like a MetaMask wallet. They're connected here, and this is the connected state of the button. In here, they can send and receive directly from their wallet. They can purchase, again, using pay. So if I need to buy a certain currency or something, they can do that. And this is, again, all out of the box, what you get with this connect button. But with that, a user still needs to create a wallet and they need to fund the wallet in order to use your app. So to tackle one of those pain points, that's why we have in-app wallet. An in-app wallet, like I mentioned before, this is going to provide a user kind of a authentication method that they're maybe used to if they're use like a Web 2 application. So they can sign in with social logins, email, phone number, passkey as well. So if I wanted to use a passkey, I'll just use my fingerprint here on my computer. This will actually generate me a wallet. So you can see this is a brand new wallet address here. And all we need to do to implement this is, configure the wallets that we want to display within our connect button here. So we provided the wallets property here with in-app wallets. You can add other wallets as well. But in-app wallets gives you, again, all of those social logins and options here. And I won't go too deep into like what in-app wallets, like how they work behind the scenes. We do have a video if you want to check that out on YouTube, where I kind of go down and break down like how is it being generated, how does a user get a wallet, all those types of things. So if you want to check that out, you can definitely head on over to the YouTube channel to watch that video. But in-app wallet, it solves one of those two pain points, right? It solves the wallet creation portion. So a user no longer needs to go out, to like MetaMask or Coinbase or, Rainbow Wallet, create a wallet or anything like that. They can just sign in and a wallet's generated for them. But when a wallet's generated for them, it's a brand new wallet, so it doesn't have funds to actually interact with the blockchain. So that's the second portion, right? So even if a user can easily create a wallet and sign in, they still need to fund that wallet, whether it's transferring funds to that wallet or somehow getting funds into it. There's still that pain point and roadblocker. So then we have, something on the other end, which is like account abstraction, which, we can provide things like sponsored transactions, or we can sponsor gas for our users essentially. So as, the developer side, I can handle and pay for all the gas for my users, and account abstractions, super easy to add. You add in the account abstraction property here, you define the chain that it's going to be for, and if you want to sponsor gas or not. So again, we make it super easy to just implement it into the connect button here. And with account abstraction in this demo here, you still need an EOA wallet, or essentially a wallet to connect to generate the smart wallet. So in this case, like if I had a MetaMask wallet, I could use that as my EOA wallet to connect to the account abstraction or the smart contract wallet. I know, sorry, I don't want to go too deep into all of this, but again, we have YouTube videos and everything if you're not familiar with account abstraction that goes into more detail. But now, if I can cover gas and everything, that handles the pain point of funding the wallet, right? So a user doesn't need to fund the wallet because now they can interact and execute transactions, and as a developer and the app, as an application, we'll handle all the gas that is used by our users. But a user still needs to have a wallet to then generate the smart contract wallet. So they'll still need a wallet. So that handled the funding part, but doesn't really necessarily handle the wallet creation part. So, we now also have the ability to combine those two, right? What if we combined the in-app wallet to allow a user to sign in with a social login, email, all those different things. And then we have the account abstraction portion that we can cover their gas and everything so that they don't have to pay in order to, execute transactions or, interact with the blockchain. So essentially with this one, we add the two that we just went over, account abstraction and wallets here. We add in-app wallet. And then now, our users presented up with a sign-in method that they're familiar with. So I can say like passkey here, sign in with my fingerprint. This generates me a smart wallet, so a new wallet address that has gas that is sponsored. So if I just quickly come down here, this is a button to claim an NFT that has like, I think like 0.01 is what I'm charging. But I can hit claim. This will actually claim the NFT. It's going to confirm the transaction and everything for me. I don't have to pay for gas because that's getting covered through the account abstraction. And there you go, I claimed an NFT. So no matter kind of where you need to meet your users and how you need to onboard them to your application, You can build applications, again, where someone's just familiar with using something like a MetaMask, they can confirm and pay for gas. You can easily just add that, all the way to if you want to fully, try to abstract away as much of the Web3 components as possible. You can combine things like in-app wallets and account abstraction. And this component right here, the connect button, by just adding a few things, a few lines of code, you can, have that full functionality out of the box through our SDK. Cool. So yeah, that's kind of the Connect SDK. That I would say that's kind of the biggest portion. The other portion that I said I was going to go over is the transaction button. So let me just switch back to a MetaMask wallet here. So down here, through our SDK as well, we have a bunch of functions and hooks that you can use to interact, read data from your contracts and everything. So we can get things like our wallet address, connection status. We can read data from the smart contracts as well. And then we have another component to interact with your smart contracts, and that's called the transaction button. So again, like how I demonstrated the claim button earlier, with in-app wallet and account abstraction, that fully took care and paid for gas and everything for me. In this one, I'll hit claim, and actually, I'm not too sure. Is my I'll open this up here actually. There you go. So yeah, it pops up with a transaction. Nice. Yeah. I was like, I don't think you can see the transaction. It's popping up in a different window. But yeah, it'll pop up, your regular transaction and everything that you need to pay. So yeah, you confirm the transaction as you would, and then you can claim an NFT. So essentially, this is the same thing like our connect button component, where you add a transaction button component, you add the contract you want to interact with, the function you want to call from the contract, and you can easily, again, start creating features and tools to interact with those contracts that you deployed. Now, that's kind of two things I like to kind of introduce people to when it comes to our Connect SDK. So again, our Connect button, easily be able to connect the user to your app, and then our transaction button, which is allowing your user to easily, interact with the blockchain. And then the third component that we were talking about earlier was Engine. And Engine, again, is our backend. You can think of it as we can create basically an API call to Engine, and Engine handles all of the on-chain portion for us. So I have a button here that is basically a button to claim an NFT, but instead of using like our components and everything, this is utilizing Engine. So basically this button just makes an API call to Engine to mint an NFT. And I'm going to, let me just pull up, it got taken away from me, but I'm going to pull up this again here. So I'm going to have my screen split here. Right over here, this is Engine. So if you have Engine or an instance of Engine deployed or managed by Thirdweb, you can come to the Engine tab and you can come over to it. And I'll go through kind of the details in Engine, but I kind of want to show like a demo of what Engine is and how it works. So again, Engine kind of tackled a couple of things. One, scalability of a Web3 application. So if you have, again, like hundreds or thousands of transactions going through every second or every minute of your app, because you have your users and they're interacting on chain, Engine handles all of that on the back end, while you can kind of create a user experience for your users on the front end where they don't need to necessarily know that they're interacting on chain. And what I mean by that is, again, this button here, all it's doing is making an API call to Engine to mint an NFT. So if I click it once here, you can see it's claiming, and hopefully the demo gods are with me. And yeah, okay, cool. It went through. I just wanted to test out one first, but you can see here, this is the transaction. So this was the API call to this Engine instance here. It's minting and it's mined this NFT here. So what does this look like if we have, hundreds or thousands of transactions going through? So I'm just gonna click this, and keep clicking it, simulating, transactions that people might be executing or doing on chain or through your application. So all of these calls are going through making API calls to Engine here. you can see all these transactions are getting sent, mined. Once they're mined, they get the status changed and everything over here. And again, you can build that front-end experience where maybe you're navigating your user elsewhere, maybe you're showing them something else. But on the back-end side, Engine is handling all of those things on chain for you. So your user doesn't need to worry about that stuff. So that's kind of a quick demonstration of Engine. But let's jump into kind of a little bit more about how Engine works. And the great thing is we just released a way that you can kind of view and demo Engine without having to set up your own local instance or pay for an instance of Engine through Thirdweb. So let me let me connect into an account that does not have Engine at all. Just a second here. Cool. So this is a brand new account I created earlier. It doesn't have Engine at all. So if you've never used Engine or anything, and you sign into your account and you go to the Engine tab, instead of being listed out like your different Engine instances like I did in my other account, you actually be brought here, and we have a demo that you can now check out. So you can actually view and try some of the things within the actual Engine dashboard. So if you did have an instance of Engine, this is what it would look like. So when you click on the demo, it's a great way to kind of see everything. And essentially what Engine allows us to do is a few things. So one, your backend wallets. This is a wallet that you're going to create that gets stored within Engine and gets stored securely to execute all of your blockchain transactions. So when you're making those API calls, they're basically making calls to these backend wallets here that telling them, hey, execute this transaction or read this data from the smart contract for me. And with these wallets here, you can fund them. So you can put in a balance. And then because they're the ones executing the transactions, they're the ones paying for the gas and everything for your users as well. So backend wallets are essentially the ones that are doing all the work for us on chain. Like we saw earlier, we can view all the transactions and everything down here. And then if you take a look on the left-hand navigation here, you can go to the Explorer tab. And then you can view all of the different ways that you can interact with the blockchain using Engine. So you can do things from, again, reading data from smart contracts to executing transactions. We also have the ability to deploy Thirdweb smart contracts as well. So you can come down to the deploy tab. You can deploy pre-built contracts like our marketplaces, our NFT drops. So you can create, again, like this experience within your application utilizing Engine. From there, you can read and execute the different things. So let's say like ERC 721, we can get all the NFTs. We can get the owned NFTs of a specific wallet address, the balance, unclaimed supply. So we can read all the data from our smart contracts as well as like mint new NFTs or claim a new NFT or burn an NFT. However, again, you want to interact with your smart contracts, you have the ability through Engine all through here. And again, it's kind of helps on the developer experience side too, where if you're someone who maybe doesn't fully understand Web3 development, it's kind of this nice middle ground where if you conceptually understand how to interact with the blockchain and everything, you can use things like that you're familiar with by just calling API calls to Engine to do what you want it to do. But I'll pause there. But yeah, if Kevin, you have any questions or anything about Engine, would love to, of course, like dive a little deeper in everything.
Oh, sure. Just a quick question is on the overview page, when it allowed you to select a couple different networks, does Engine support any arbitrary network, or is it like rolling out to specific ones?
Right now, Engine should support just like our chains, any EVM chain. Of course, there's a few off ones, so you can like search the chain ID and everything. Just like how we selected the chain for the contract deployment, you'll be able to select it here, and then it'll show the balance of those wallets on that specific chain as well. So you can copy the wallet address, fund it with the funds it needs to execute any transaction.
And this might be a silly question, but when you were clicking before, you clicked claim like 20 times.
Yes.
would those transactions be sent between like spread between like those type of wallets, or you can create additional wallets? Like if you think, hey, I think, approximately 20 transactions, are going to happen like per minute or something, would it be best to create 20 wallets or something like that?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the great part about Engine 2 is you can create these backend wallets, right? You can create it, you can import your own wallets too if you want your own wallet to handle, certain transactions, or maybe it has approval to do certain transactions. And you can label, organize these wallets however you see fit to handle, whatever transactions at whatever scale you need them to handle at.
Very cool.
But yeah, on top of that, I guess one more thing I that should go over. So things like when you let's just say deploy a contract, and let's just say we deploy like an NFT drop contract. Um, you can see here what you'll get back is a QID, and then you can check the QID. It'll give you basically back the status that we saw within the transaction. So if it's been sent, if it's mining, or if it's been mined already. And then you get the deployed address as well. So if you deploy a contract, you get the deploy address. If you do anything else, you can get back all that data information, and again, use that to build out your application. So super helpful. And then we have a bunch of other things that you can create with Engine as well, like relayers. So like I kind of mentioned before, like those backend wallets, you kind of fund those wallets because they're the ones executing the transactions. So you can also use Engine as like a relayer as well, if you want to cover gas or something for your users. So you can fund a wallet, say, hey, you can only interact with these, you can see here, you can allow certain contract addresses or anything that you'll cover gas for. And you can kind of create your own gas, like a gasless relayer within Engine 2. So a bunch of different functionalities and use cases you can use Engine for. And it's, I would say, one of those very powerful tools that we have here at Thirdweb. But yeah, that I would say does it for everything that I wanted to kind of share as quickly as possible, condensed down. But again, if you folks ever want to like learn more details about these different tools and functions, like Kevin said earlier, check out our YouTube channel, our documentations and everything. And then you can, find some guides or video tutorials that go into much more depth about everything that we covered.
That was amazing, Sean. You covered a ton of ground. And I just had a couple questions, to wrap up, seeing that we have a couple minutes left. You mentioned, we talked about contracts, we talked about Engine, we spoke about deploy. What do you see as like the most common entry point for people who are in Web3 and they stumble across Thirdweb? Like what's the most common way that people find out about Thirdweb?
I would say most common point that, kind of introduced people to Thirdweb is through contracts. And it's kind of, what Thirdweb started out as well was, a simple way for people like during like the NFT craze and everything. How can we like easily allow people to deploy these smart contracts? So that was kind of always the starting ground. And it still kind of is the way where people are introduced to Thirdweb. I think the easiest, people are searching, how do I create a token, or how do I create an NFT? And, even through the development process, it's always kind of like that smart contract is kind of that first step. And then it's kind of like, okay, now how do I build a front end for this? And then that kind of guides them into our SDKs. And then, maybe you want to add certain functionalities or features, or maybe you're scaling your application to a much larger scale. And then that's kind of where Engine kind of comes on top of that too, and it can kind of help facilitate all those needs. So it's definitely, they're all connected in some way. But I would say definitely the starting point is, people kind of come in, want to deploy a smart contract, see how easy it is, works on any EVM compatible blockchain, and then kind of getting started from there.
Oh, sweet. And it seems like you're always adding, tons of new features. And I'm just curious if there's anything that's public or possible for you to share. What's next on your roadmap?
I think I'm not gonna say I'm gonna keep it to I think what things I can share and everything. But I will also say like our roadmap, we always do have things on a roadmap, but I think the space is always changing and adopting and evolving very quickly. I think the one thing that we focus on is providing users tools that we know they need in order to build these successful applications. And we know that people are, looking to build these apps, and instead of going out and finding all these different tools that you kind of need to stitch together to build your application, can Thirdweb be that one-stop shop where, okay, I need to connect something, they have connect components. Okay, I need to deploy a contract, okay, we can deploy contracts here. Or hey, I need to be able to scale or have like a blockchain API, we have engine for that. And we recently just acquired BlockTorch, which is going to help us with the whole indexer side of things like that. So bringing on their tool sets and things that they had to add that extra component that, was a missing piece to what people really needed to build, full scale Web3 applications. So yeah, I think the end goal and always the goal is how do we become that place where I don't need to use anything else. And Thirdweb has everything. But the great thing I think with Thirdweb and being open source and everything, and the way our kind of, I would say, like our philosophy is, you don't have to use all of Thirdweb if you don't want to. We still give you the ability to, if you want to use something else, go ahead and use it. But just letting you know that we have all the tools here if you do.
That makes a ton of sense. And you're making it so that developers, they don't have to go somewhere else, right? That's a huge selling point. And you're saying like you don't need to put together 15 different technologies. Like Thirdweb has all of the options for you, which is really sick. That's really, really cool. And I do want to just point out that Moonbeam has put together two pages on our doc site. One is an overview of Thirdweb, showing you different parts of the SDK and how to do things like connect wallet, things like that. That's kind of our overview page. And then we've got a tutorial that's heavily inspired on your NFT marketplace tutorial, and just kind of like a longer form and walking folks through that. So I will leave the links to that in the video. And just one last question, Sean, before we wrap up. We're both DevRel engineers. What do you think is missing, or what can we do better, in Web3 developer relations?
I think well, I'll start off with DevRel is such a wide umbrella to begin with, and I think some of the things that not necessarily are missing, but I think a lot of maybe in my personal opinion, the focus on is, I think, curating and providing the support to developers who are in the space. Like, I think there are people here who have great ideas of things that can be built, the potential of this technology and what it can offer. And I think it's making sure we support those people as much as possible, whether it's showing them the right tools, whether it's introducing them to the right people, supporting those people, because you never know who's going to be that next person that makes the big app that maybe helps blockchain be mass adopted by people that aren't familiar with it. And I think the second portion outside of that is, for me, this has been a personal like goal of mine, is more of the onboarding to Web3, like more of how do we educate people that don't know about this technology, or maybe even convince people like why Web3, why blockchain has some benefits over some things that in the space today, right? What does blockchain bring that we can't get without blockchain? And how do we convince those developers to see the potential in that? And how do we bring them into the space? And how do we make that transition easy and not just like, hey, yeah, we talked about decentralization, we talked about security, like all of this stuff. And then they come into the space and it's like a whole new technology that they have to learn. And it's like, how do we make that transition smooth and seamless? And I think from there, those two things, nurturing the people who have the ideas that are currently in the space, and then bringing on people, because you never know who might have that next big idea. And I think those two kind of lead to the same North Star of how do we, get blockchain and all this technology into the hands of, everyday users and everything. So, not so much I think what's missing, but in my eyes, I think those are the two kind of roads that, as a DevRel, if we work on, we'll kind of, all be headed towards that road upward.
Oh, for sure. I think you're already doing an incredible job of onboarding new folks into Web3, particularly with YouTube. And it's a great way for people to discover content and find it, and then head towards Thirdweb. So it seems like it's a great funnel. And I totally agree. What you're saying is that, I totally agree that if we go and give a talk about like we're going to build something that's decentralized, right? People might not resonate with people as much as saying like we're taking the regular internet and we're making it decentralized. But if we say, here's all the cool things that you can do, and then later we tell them, oh, by the way, like also it's decentralized and it's running on a blockchain, it doesn't need to be the first thing that we sell them on, right? I totally agree there.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's kind of like, in a way you have to like sell it to them as like this is a feat. Like you don't have to tell them how it's done. I think that can come like after, but if you're hooked on what you can accomplish, it's kind of like, oh, okay, like I can do this. I wasn't able to do this before. Then it's the question of how is this possible? And then that's where someone can kind of take that deep dive. But the curiosity is already there, right? They're already curious on how do they accomplish this thing that they saw. So that's where, that's going to drive their deep dive into the technology. I think that's a much better way than saying, oh yeah, this is blockchain. This is like, and all these different technology lingo and everything that we use. I think if we can catch people and hook people through the features and the things that is already being built here, and how to accomplish that, people will naturally kind of just dive deeper into it.
For sure. And this is a very, empowering technology, and Thirdweb makes it easy to get started building something quickly. On a hackathon, or if I'm just getting started on a project, right? It can be intimidating to, start from scratch, right? But Thirdweb has all these tools that can take it so that you've got an idea, but then you're like, well, I just want to make something quickly and like just try it out. I want to give it to a couple friends, or I want to maybe try it out myself. And the fact that you can go from 0 to 100 really, really quickly with Thirdweb is a huge selling point. And we're really excited that Moonbeam developers can build with Thirdweb. And now we've got lots of different ways for them to learn about it. We've got this video and we've got the doc site. And so feel very lucky that you joined us here today, Sean. So thank you so much for the time. And thank you so much for what you're doing in Web3, onboarding lots of new developers through YouTube and documentation and everything the like.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me, Kevin. Thank you guys for, allowing me the platform and everything to share what Thirdweb is. And yeah, I would say if you haven't tried us out, or if you haven't checked us out, check us out. Those links and everything that I shared, like Kevin said, I think just start somewhere, start building, try it out. And the one thing I would say is keep building and, keep trying new things and be curious.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sean.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.